An economic system is a way a nation allocates its resources. However, in the African American Negro community, the economic system is used to meet people's emotional needs. And this is the reason why the Afro American Negro community is the poorest in the world. When it comes down to economics, most Afro American Negroes do not apply logic to the situation. For the Negro, money is just a way to either medicate their pain or to sate whatever emotional needs that they have. And because the Negro approaches economics from an emotional way, they wind up never using money in the way that it's supposed to be used. When it comes down to these economic and political systems, oftentimes this Afro American Negro approaches them looking to get their emotional needs met. And because this Negro wants to get their emotional needs met, they never build anything significant that they can use to advance their race in ways of building wealth for the next generation to build on, or even having resources to provide for the current generation. Instead, many Negroes spend their money looking to get happiness. And happiness is an intangible that you cannot get with money. But you cannot tell this Afro American Negro this because this Negro, in many cases, is still looking to get, again, their emotional needs met from an economic and political system. The Negro, in many cases, believes that if they are making a white person happy or they're doing something to make white people happy, they will be happy. Not understanding that your happiness is an internal thing based on how you feel about yourself. And this is something that, is a big problem when it comes down to this Afro American Negro. He's always looking to find happiness from somebody else. He's always looking to please somebody else. And the reason why your Negro thinks this way is, again, because of the culture he was taught by his mother. His mother, um, because she was a single mother in many cases, was taught to find happiness from buying consumer products and caring for the home. And because this is the only model he ever saw, this is what he believes he needs to do with money. You see, most of the other economic systems in the world are patriarchal. And in those economic systems, because the boys grow up learning their economic model from other men, they learn a logical approach to how to use money and how to manage their economic systems. And they learn that money is not a way to get your emotional needs met. Instead, they learn that money is a tool that you use to build wealth. And because they come in understanding that you take money to buy fixed tangible assets that accrue in value, they build wealth that is passed down from one generation to the next. But because your Negro grows up learning a culture from his single mother of consumerism, what they learn is you use money to make yourself happy and to win the approval of others. And in the case of many of these Negroes, what they learn is if they get the money, they can buy the stuff to make themselves happy, or they can use the money to buy stuff that will get them the attention of white people and get their approval. And what this Negro never understands is that when you use money to make to try to get win people's approval, and when you try to use money to make yourself happy, all you're doing is giving your personal power away to others for them to control you with. And this is why a big reason why your African American Negro community is the poorest in the world, because many of your Negroes are so busy seeking the approval of someone else that they all they do is they continue every time they chase this carrot. What happens is the person continue because they have leverage over them continues to raise the bar again and again, and the Negro, because he's following somebody else's standard, continues to buy into this system and continues to fuel it with money. And this is why 97, 98% of the Negro dollar flows out of this Afro American Negro community because many of these Negroes, again, are trying to get their emotional needs met from an economic and political system. Instead, most Americans, they're doing it differently. They're saying that, look, I set the standard for what they believe, whatever Hispanic is, whatever white is, whatever Asian is, and they use that standard to make money for themselves. And because everybody is following their standard, they're making money off of them. But the Negro, on the other hand, is still seeking the approval of whites, or in the case of your Negro man, he's still seeking the approval of this black woman. And because they keep chasing the approval of someone else, because they have leverage again, continue to raise the standard, and they continue to change the standard time and time again. And because the Negro wants to make people happy, they continue to give these other people their money, and because they give them their money, they and continue to chase their standards and continue to buy their products, they wind up poorer in the end. Not understanding that if you have your own standard, then you can control your own economy and control your own resources because you are setting the standard for what black is. And when you set the standard for what black is, you control the resources because you are saying this is what we establish as black, this is what we want, this is what we're following as black, and this is the terms that we dictate for what our black community will follow. Unfortunately, many Negroes instead are trying to get their emotional needs met from this economic and political system, and the reason why they're doing that again is because of the way they're raised, the culture that they're taught, and their whole culture is taught is to please someone else. And this is what a lot of these Negro males learn, again, from an early age, because this is what they see their mother doing, trying to please men and trying to please other people. And because there is no father in the home in many cases, they learn to use the economic system not to build towards political power, but towards consumer power, which is false. And they also use it towards trying to get their emotional needs met. And when you're trying to get your emotional needs met from an economic and political system, you're always going to remain poor because that's not the job of an economic system. The whole job of an economic system is to allocate resources so that people in the community can get their financial needs met. The whole goal of an economic system is to make sure that there is money for schools, money for libraries, safe roads, safe communities. That's part of an economic system. And the other part of an economic system is to make sure that money from foreign areas, from foreigners and people outside of the community are coming in and that there is trade coming in. But the Negro community, instead, because everybody's looking for love and approval from outside sources, that's why 98% of the money is flowing out of your Afro American Negro community. Most Negroes are too busy looking to be loved, and they're still looking for love, looking for hugs, and looking for approval from someone else to focus on the work that is needed to be done in building a constructive economic system. I mean, an economic system is not going to validate you or help you meet your self-actualization needs or even give you a hug, because this is what most Negroes really want from white people. As I've said in the previous video, most of these Negroes, all they want really is a hug from a white person and they'll feel all right. But they don't understand that, you have to find love from within and you have to learn how to like who you are on the inside if you hope to really build something. Because when it comes down to the Negro's mind, a Negro, this is what's really the most messed up part about them, is that this is why I say that they're codependent, because people who love themselves, they're not seeking approval from external sources. They know they believe in themselves, they're confident in themselves, and they go out and do what they need to do. But when it comes down to this Negro, he's so busy, looking for love from white people and acceptance from white people and looking to get those emotional needs met, that they can't focus on the economic needs of their community. And they can't see how their constant obsession with getting these emotional needs met is leading to them remaining the poorest people in the world. Because if you're not getting your emotional, if you're looking to get from an external, again, looking for an external source from your own community for your to getting your emotional needs met, you're not going to be able to take care of your economic needs. And when it comes down to this Negro, he's still so busy looking for those emotional needs met. This is why Madison Avenue advertisers and Hollywood movie studios can, sell him his own image, and pervert it and make a whole bunch of money off him because he's still, again, still looking to get those economic needs met from that. I mean, not economic needs, but emotional needs met from that economic and political system. And I really do believe that because there is no father in many of these Negro homes. This is why this Negro is in this sad state of affairs regarding his own economy. Because this teacher of culture only teaches him how to be emotional and how to, pacify himself and medicate himself with consumer products instead of learning the resolve to use the tools around him to build something constructive in terms of an economic system for himself. Only I look at every community, and the only community that is still continuing to look to get its emotional needs met from the economic system is this Afro American Negro. He's the only person in the civilized world who does this, and this is again why he is so poor, because he's still looking for some white person to pat him on the head or give him a hug and show him some sort of love for doing what everybody is supposed to be doing. And you're not going to get emotional needs met, because I've seen this on many jobs. I mean, when it comes down to this Negro, he's the only person on the job looking to be happy. And that's what shows me, that's where I came up with this theory, because he's the only one looking to be happy on the job, looking for approval of people on the job, and not looking to just do your job because this is what you're paid to do. And when it comes down to this Negro, he needs to feel happy and in order to do his work, and he needs somebody to constantly, validate him and approve him. This is what's so dysfunctional about having many of these Negroes in the workplace, because they're looking for love, they're looking for happiness, they're looking to be happy on a job, not understanding there's a difference between happiness and passion. A passionate worker is going to approach work, you know, with enthusiasm and with energy, but they have a sense of professional distance, and that professional distance allows them to do their work objectively and make sure it's the best work possible. Meanwhile, your emotional worker, yes, they have a lot of energy about what they want to do, but oftentimes because they're so emotional, a lot of their work is sloppy, a lot of it is not, done well, and a lot of it is not constructed in a way that allows anybody to understand it. When it comes down to this emotional worker, you know, they're happy about doing their work, but the quality of their work is not very good. Meanwhile, a guy who's passionate about his work, yes, he cares about his work. But he's objective. He or she is objective, and because they are objective, they are looking at the work in regards to making sure that it meets a standard for quality. And a lot of people mix those two up in the workplace, and especially Negro people. They go to work looking to be happy, but they don't go to work, looking to be passionate and professional. A professional who is passionate about what they're doing, yeah, they care about what they're doing, but they care about doing it so that it meets a professional standard. Meanwhile, your happy worker, yeah, they're happy about doing what they're doing, but they're not doing it so it meets quality. And this is where your Negro winds up, messing up on a job, because they're looking to be happy and find happy days and find total bliss in trying to get their emotional needs met, but they're not understanding that a job is not a place where you go to be happy. Same thing with anything else in life. I mean, when it comes down to work, you go to work to get paid to do those tasks and get paid, and you get your emotional needs met from people in your family, and maybe in some cases your friends, but you don't go to a professional environment or business environment looking to get your emotional needs met. And this is where your Afro American Negro, pretty much falls apart, because he walks into economic situations like business, looking for people to be his friend, looking for people to like him, looking for people to care about him, not understanding that when you go into a business situation, this is a, you may have connections with these people, you may keep think, but it's a professional connection, and your whole goal is having somebody at your side who will help you get your work done, and that's all you want to do. That when you go to work, you go to work to work. When you go on business, you go for business. And business is never personal. But in the Afro American Negro community, people always try to make business personal. And this is why things never work out, because many of these Negroes, instead of doing what needs to be done and setting aside, whatever issues they have to get personal, and they bring their emotions into things, and then and then when people have disagreements, which is what people do in business situations, then they want to argue, then they want to, get upset, and then they want to start using name calling and shaming tactics. And when everything starts to melt down, then they don't want to have anything to do with anyone. And this is why nothing gets done in your Afro American Negro community, because they are so emotional and looking for everybody to love them and care about them. They start holding grudges, they start getting angry. They say, I don't want to work with this one, I don't want to work with that one. If this one is here, I'm not coming here. And because they do that, nothing gets done, and then other groups wind up getting tactical advantages because they start, using the divide and conquer to split people up. And because this Negro can't understand, how things work in an economic system, how you'll have two people who may not even like each other, because in many cases, when it comes down to many of these white folks or these Asian folks or any of these other ethnic groups, what they'll do is they'll say, look, I may not like him, but we're going to work together to make this money. And because they will sit there and work together to make their money, they wind up making the money. And if they sit there and they'll say, I may not like him, I may not really, care for this guy, but he's going to help me meet my economic goals. He's going to help me meet my political goals. And because these two people will form an alliance, not based on their personal issues, but on their economic and political issues, they go out and they get their goals met. But your Negro, they always look to be friends with people and for people to make them happy and for people to like them in order for them to do something for somebody. And that's a whole backwards way of thinking, because when the two of you have to be friends in order to do something, no business is going to get done, nothing's going to get accomplished, because everybody's looking again for their emotional needs to be met, and you cannot get your economic needs met from when you're emotional. You only get your economic needs met because when you're logical and you can set a set of constructive goals that will allow you to accomplish what you need to do. And that's what everybody else does. But when it comes down to your Afro American Negro, they never know how to do this. Instead, it becomes, again, crabs in a barrel. I want to get personal. And then and then some of them start jockeying for approval from whites and other non blacks. And because they do this, again, your economic system winds up falling completely apart because everybody's looking to be happy, looking to be loved, and looking for approval from others. And this is just not how things are done. Economic systems, again, they are a logic based concept, and they are all about distributing money and resources. And when you distribute money and resources effectively, you do it with the intent of making more money and bringing more resources into your community. And that's how you allocate resources. That's how an economic system works. But in the Negro community, because everybody wants to be friends and everybody wants to be liked, money winds up going in places where it shouldn't be going. And because a lot of money goes in the wrong places, and too little money goes in the right places, the community long term winds up poorer for the deal and worse for the wear. And because many of these Negroes are short sighted or short term thinkers, they wind up, struggling to make any progress, or in many cases, as they're doing right now, they just wind up regressing. And because they don't understand how to bring, how to separate, their emotions from a business situation, Many of them, wind up not wind up throwing away valuable allies, destroying partnerships, and just wind up, you know, not being able to achieve what anybody else could achieve with ease. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.